Hello learners, you all are welcome to senior secondary level mathematics program. Dear learners, now we will be discuss one of the very important aspects in mathematics, that is calculus. When talking about calculus, that means some extent we have to calculate, means we have to find out the value of a quantity, we can say value of a variable, or we can say the value of a function. And when we are talking about calculus, in order to understand calculus, there are the different concept. For example, we can say the limit, we can say continuity, the derivatives, integration. These are the certain concept which are comes under calculus, and we will discuss one by one. First, we have to discuss limit of a function. When talking about limit of a function, that means we are just checking the variation, we can say rate of change of a quantity with respect to another quantity, that is called the limit, we can say limit of the functions. Now dear learners, we will be discuss about more about the limit of, when talking about limit of the function, we must have to understand very simply, we can say that limit of function means, that means we are checking or we are going to find out the nature of the, we can say nature of the function. That means whether that function is continuous or we can say the function is non-continuous. This type of things we can calculate by using the limit of a function, or we can say the value of limiting value of a function. That part details will be discussed. Now when talking about limit of a function, remember when talking about limit of a function, there is a, we can say mathematical notation. We can write like, for example, limit x tends to 2 x square minus 2 by, suppose we can say x square minus 2 by, suppose x minus 1 x not equal to, we can say if x not equal to 1, that part can, we can say possible. Now when talking about, when we are going to find out limit x tends to 2 x square minus 2 by divided x minus 1, we are going to find out when x tends to 2, that means that is represent x tends to 2, that means I can say x approaches, that means approaches to 2. Okay, approaches I can say towards positive direction, towards we can say negative direction, or in talking about x approaches to 2, that means simply I can say it is not exactly 2. Okay, x tends to 2. Okay, so when we are talking about the variable from the left hand side, we are talking as a left hand limit. When talking about the variable towards the right hand side, that means positive part, positive side, that means we can say that is the right hand limit. When talking about left hand limit, right hand limit, dear learners, we must have to understand when talking about left hand and right hand limit, suppose for example we can say that finding the right hand limit of x tends to a f of x, that means simply I can say what we understand, limit x tends to a plus means I can say the right hand limit x tends to a of the positive direction. So that means simply I can write in place of x, I can write a plus h, then h, remember when talking about x equal to a plus h, I can write limit h tends to 0 f of x now become, I can say f of a plus h, can say simply the left hand limit. When we are going to find out left hand limit, here what happened, limit x tends to a plus, when talking about left hand limit, it is x tends to a minus. Okay, so that place we will write x equal to a minus h. In place of x, we will write a minus h. When talking about right hand limit, in place of x, we are writing a plus h. You see, by putting x equal to a minus h, limit h tends to 0, f of a minus h. Okay, now you see, when talking about left hand limit or right hand limit, remember this is the working rule. Working rule means this is the functional way to find out the left hand limit and right hand limit. Dear learners, when talking about left hand limit and right hand limit, the limit will be exist, there is a condition. एक कंडीशन है, दिस कंडीशन लिमिट एग्जिस्ट करेगा इफ द लेफ्ट हैंड लिमिट इक्वल टू राइट हैंड लिमिट. फॉर एग्जांपल व्हेन टॉकिंग अबाउट लिमिट, दिस इज द सपोज कंडीशन 1, लिमिट एक्सटेंड्स टू a plus means the right hand limit f of x, suppose the value is L and right hand limit the value is L. Okay, now we can say the limiting value when the left hand limit is equal to right hand limit, the value you see the value remains suppose L, that means दोनों का दो लेफ्ट हैंड लिमिट का वैल्यू एंड राइट हैंड लिमिट का वैल्यू एक सेम है, सेम वैल्यू है. सो दैट टाइम द लिमिट इज एग्जिस्ट. दैट टाइम आई कैन सिंपली राइट लिमिट एक्सटेंड्स टू a, simply a. It is not written a minus or a plus. Limit extends to a means the limiting value is exist and left hand limit is equal to right hand limit. That time I can write limit extends to a f of x equal to L because दोनों का वैल्यू बराबर है. Second thing, suppose I can say that left hand limit is different from the left hand limit. दोनों का वैल्यू अलग अलग है. So the limiting value is not exist, the limit is not exist. अगर मैं बताऊं, that means I can say f of x does not exist. That means the limiting left hand limit value is different from the right hand limit. And lastly I can say, suppose limit extends to a f of x or limit x minus a does not exist. दोनों either one, whether it is right hand limit, whether it is लेफ्ट हैंड लिमिट, दोनों में से एक अगर एग्जिस्ट नहीं करेगा तो लिमिट भी एग्जिस्ट नहीं करेगा. दोनों एक तो कंडीशन, पहला कंडीशन दोनों पे एक अगर एग्जिस्ट नहीं करेगा लिमिट एग्जिस्ट नहीं करेगा. अगर दोनों अलग अलग वैल्यू दोनों एग्जिस्ट करेगा लेकिन दोनों का वैल्यू अलग अलग है फिर भी लिमिट एग्जिस्ट नहीं करेगा, तो लिमिट कब एग्जिस्ट करेगा? वेरी सिंपली वी कैन से व्हेन द लिमिट विल बी एग्जिस्ट if the limiting the left hand limit value is equal to right hand limit value, then we can say the limit is exist. This is the fundamental, we can say fundamental concept of the limit. We must have to understand. उसका बिना आगे हम बढ़ नहीं पाएगा. Dear learners, in order to find out the limiting value of a function, we must have remember either लेफ्ट हैंड लिमिट एंड राइट हैंड लिमिट दोनों एग्जिस्ट करना चाहिए. अगर एग्जिस्ट कर रहे दोनों का वैल्यू भी बराबर होना चाहिए, देन वी कैन फाइंड आउट द लिमिटिंग वैल्यू ऑफ ए फंक्शन. नाउ विल बी मूव डियर लर्नर्स अनदर थिंग्स, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग, एग्जिस्टेंस ऑफ ए लिमिट. लिमिट कब एग्जिस्ट कर रहा है मैं आपको पहले से ही बता दिए थे. इफ दे वेरी सिंपली इफ द लेफ्ट हैंड लिमिट, if the left hand limit is equal to right hand limit, that means I can say LHL is equal to RHL. That means simply I can say when the left hand limit value is equal to right hand limit value, then we can say limit is exist. This condition, when left hand limit is equal to right hand limit, then we can say the limit of a function is existence, exist कर पाएगा, otherwise exist नहीं कर पाएगा. So very simply we have already discussed, we can already discuss that the left hand limit the value is must equal to right hand limit value. Then we can say limiting value of the function is can exist. Now dear learners, we have to find out, evaluate the value of limiting value of the function. लिमिटिंग वैल्यू ऑफ द फंक्शन निकालने के लिए वेरियस तरीका है, टेक्निक्स है, वेरियस टेक्निक्स है. और जिसको बोलते हैं कि अप्रोच भी बोल सकते हैं। इसी अप्रोच में हम वैल्यू निकाल सकते हैं, इसी टेक्निक्स में वैल्यू निकाल सकते हैं। वन ऑफ द वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टेक्निक्स इज वी कैन से मेथड ऑफ सब्स्टिट्यूशन। वन इज मेथड ऑफ सब्स्टिट्यूशन, another we can say method of factorization, and third part is we can say method of rationalization. These are the three prominent method, very prominent method, we can say prominent method. These are the very prominent method to find out limit of a, we can say limit of the function. Now first we have to discuss about, we can say the substitution method. When talking about substitution method, remember dear learners, when talking about the substitution method, we can say substitution. When talking about substitution method, remember we have to substitute the value, find out the limiting value. Substitute मतलब substitute करना है, किसका substitute करना है? Limit x tends to, for example, suppose limit x tends to 2, x tends to 2 5x. What will be its value? What will be its value? उनका वैल्यू क्या होगा? So remember, when talking about its value, remember what will we do? Limit, I can say the variable is x. I can say the variable is the x. 5 is the constant quantity. So I can write 5 into limit x tends to 2 x, or simply I can say 5 into limit x tends to 2. In place of x I can write 2, the value will be 10. This is known as the substitution method. That means the x tends to 2, that value we have to substitute in the variables. So this method is known as substitute method. बहुत आसान भी है. For example, suppose example 2 लो कि हम लोग suppose निकालना है limit x tends to 5 3x square. What will find? Now I can write 3 into limit x tends to 5 x square, that means 3 into 5 का whole square, that means 3 into 25, which is equal to 75. By putting the substituting the variable value, we have to find out the limiting value of the function. So this method is known as the substitution method. ये मेथड को हम सब्स्टिट्यूशन मेथड बोलते हैं, और बहुत आसान भी है, सहज भी है, आसान भी है, और इनको बेसिस में हम बहुत जल्दी से उनका वैल्यू निकाल सकते हैं. दिस मेथड इज नोन एज द सब्स्टिट्यूशन मेथड. लेकिन बहुत टाइम पे एक ही मेथड, एक तरीका आपको काम पे नहीं आएगा, दूसरा तरीका हमको ढूंढना पड़ेगा. नेक्स्ट जो अप्रोच है, नेक्स्ट जो मेथड है विल बी डिस्कस, that is known as very simply I can say method of factorization. When talking about method of factorization, remember method of factorization means simply what we are doing, we have to factorize the function. For example, suppose limit x tends to 2 x square minus 5x plus 6 divided by x minus 2. What will be the value? What will be its value? Remember, when talking about method of factorization, this we can say the function will be in the form of 0 by 0 or infinity by infinity. Then we can able to find out or apply the method of factorization. When talking about limit x tends to 2 x square minus 5x plus 6, you know this is the quadratic equation, and we have to factorize directly. उनका वैल्यू हम पुट करके वैल्यू नहीं निकाल पाएंगे, उनको हम factorization करना है. By the quadratic formula we can apply, or we can say middle term formula. That part we already know. Suppose how we will solve limit, I can say x tends to 2 x square minus 2x minus 3x plus 6 divided by x minus 2. I can write, yes I can write, because minus 5x we just split into middle term. We already know that formula part, we have already know. That means minus 2x minus 3x, which this part we have a split. Minus 5x become minus 2x minus 3x. So again I can write limit x tends to 2 x tends to x into x minus 2. I can write x minus x square minus 2x. I can write minus 3 minus 3 into x minus 2. Yes, that means again I can write x minus 2. So what will happen? Now the value become limit x tends to 2, x minus 3 common ले जाना है, x minus 3 it become x minus 2. So divided by x minus 2. What you now observe? The numerator denominator में x minus 2 common है. Common means simply I can say that means x minus 2 and x minus 2 are will be cancel. We can cancel. So the value become I can say limit x tends to 2. The value is x minus 3. X minus 3. Now what will we do? We can write in place of 2, in place of x, I can write the value of 2 because x tends to 2. So the value become 2 minus 3 which equal to minus 1. Okay, if suppose x tends to 5, I can write 5 minus 3 which equal to 2. Suppose x tends to 7, 7 minus 3 which equal to 4. This is known as the method of factorization. Why we call it the method of factorization? Simply I can say that there is a factorizing by using the quadratic formula or middle term. That's why we call it the method is method of factorization. The third method will be discussed, which is known as rationalization. When talking about rationalization, rationalization क्या है हम लोग को भी पता है. Rationalization means the denominator को न्यू एक but the thing is in this condition, in this situation, there must be the function must be reduced to 0 by 0 or infinity by form and the function must have to gx by f of x. इसी फॉर्म पे आना चाहिए. इसी फॉर्म पे आएगा तो we can say because एक rationalize किसको करना है? डिनोमिनेटर करना है. दिस इज वी नो दैट दिस इज न्यूमरेटर, दिस इज डिनोमिनेटर. ये डिनोमिनेटर को हम rationalize करना है. Okay, that's why this method is very prominently known as the method of rationalization. When talking about method of rationalization, you just see what is given. Limit x tends to 0, the 1 plus x square root minus 1 minus x square root. So this is the things. So this is the numerator, it was in denominator. So what will you do? The that is a minus b. It is a minus b. Suppose this is a, this is b. I can write a minus b. In order to we can rationalize, we have to multiply a plus b. So I can write 1 plus x square root plus 1 minus x square root. Okay, we have to multiply this one. We have multiply. What multiply? In order to rationalize, minus just we multiply plus because we have to get a formula a minus b into a plus b, that result will be a square minus b square. If we multiply numerator, the quantity, constant quantity, the same quantity we have to multiply in a denominator. So this is the basic principle we have already known. So we have to multiply x into I can say 1 plus x square root plus I can say 1 minus 1 square root. So what will be happen? Limit I can say x tends to 0. You see a plus b into a minus b, that means s square minus b square. S square means I can say 1 plus x minus b square means 1 minus x divided by x into 1 plus x square root plus 1 minus x square root. दिखने में जितने बड़ा लग रहा है, काम करने में बहुत आसान है, बहुत छोटा है. हमको देखने के डरने का बात नहीं है. वेरी सिंपली आई कैन से minus x plus x will be minus x plus x. I can say plus 1 minus 1 will be cancel. A plus b into a minus b, a plus b into a minus b means s square minus b square, minus means I can say minus this one, I can simply write 1 plus x minus 1 plus x divided by this much, that means x 1 plus x square root plus 1 minus x square root. You see minus minus will be cancelled, numerator become 2x by something. So 2x by this one, 2x divided by x, that value become the value become 2x by x, that means value is 2. So I can write here I can write 2 divided by, now x tends to 0, x tends to 0 means 1 plus 0, that value is 1, plus 1 minus 0, value is 1, 1 plus 1, that value is 2, 2 by 2, that means 2 divided by 2, the value will be 1. That means you have to find out the value. We have, this is the one way to find out the value. So dear learners, if you talk about limit x tends to 0, 1 plus x square root minus 1 minus x divided by x, by using the methods of rationalization, that value we have got, that answer will be 1. How easily we have to find out? We have find out, बहुत आसान से हम निकाल पाए by using the techniques, by using the formula. This is known as method of rationalization. Now do you see? Now we have to see the basic theorems of limit. F of x means k is the one of the constant quantity. Then what will happen? That value will be constant quantity, बाहर ले आना है, बाहर को ले आना है. मैं अगेन रिपीट कर रहा हूँ, लिमिट एक्स टेंड्स टू ए, कांस्टेंट क्वांटिटी के साथ अगर फंक्शन जुड़ा है, कांस्टेंट को आउटसाइड को लाना है, देन होगा लिमिट आई कैन स्टे एक्स टेंड्स टू ए एफ ऑफ एक्स. सपोज दैट वैल्यू इक्वल टू सपोज एल, then result will be KL. Okay, so dear learners, this is the first theorem. You must have to understand, if कोई एक constant quantity अगर function के साथ multiply है, limiting value निकालने के टाइम पे constant quantity को बाहर लेके आना है, बाहर in the sense जो limiting जो multiplication form पे है उनको बाहर लाना है और multiply करना है किसके साथ, limiting value के साथ. This is known as the first theorem, first basic theorem. Now dear learners, we will be moved to the second. When talking about second theorem is also important. Second theorem is talking that limit x tends to a, f of x plus g of x अगर combine हो कि addition पे है, addition है कि subtraction है, combined form पे है, so that will be, I can write limit x tends to a f of x plus minus limit x tends to a g of x. That means अगर combine है उनको separate करके addition करना है और subtraction करना है. Third part is talking, third part भी same things है, अगर limit x tends to a f of x इंटू जी ऑफ एक्स है और ये देखिए कंबाइंड मल्टीप्लाई है, सो वी हैव टू सेपरेटली मल्टीप्लाई. लिमिट एक्स टेंड्स टू ए एफ ऑफ एक्स इंटू लिमिट एक्स टेंड्स टू ए जी ऑफ एक्स. अदर एडिशन हो और वी कैन से सब्सट्रैक्शन हो, मल्टीप्लीकेशन है, कंबाइन है तो सेपरेट हम कर सकते हैं. डिवीजन केस में, इन केस ऑफ डिवीजन the same things is there, but one changing is there. Limit x tends to a f of x divided by g of x will be always limit x tends to a f of x divided by limit x tends to a g of x. ये होगा, सेपरेट हो पाएगा, प्रोवाइडेड, रिमेंबर ये जीरो नहीं होना चाहिए, प्रोवाइडेड दिस विल बी नॉट इक्वल टू जीरो, ये जीरो नहीं होना चाहिए. जीरो होने से क्या होगा, डिनोमिनेटर अगर जीरो है वो कोई उसका वैल्यू हम निकाल पाए, दिस इज नोन एज अनडिफाइंड, डिफाइन नहीं कर पाएंगे. दैट्स व्हाई द कंडीशन इज देयर, लिमिट एक्स टेंड्स टू a f of x by g of x equal to limit x tends to a f of x divided by limit x tends to a g of x, provided g of x is not equal to 0, then it can be possible. These are the basic, we can say dear learners, these are basic theorems. We will discuss more about by using this theorem how we have to evaluate the limiting value. Right now we will take a short break, then after we will be details discuss about how we have to use this theorem in the real problem, real context, how we have to find out. Thank you learners.
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने,
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने, हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने, अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने, जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने।
समय की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो, संसाधन समय की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो,
कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो,
कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो,
मित्रों हम उठे और जागे,
मंजिल आने की ध्वनि सुने, अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपने राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विद्यालय का है द्वार खुला सबकी खातिर, शिक्षा परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर,
शिक्षा परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर, दुनिया में इसके केंद्र बात,
कोई मन चाहा केंद्र चुने, हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने, कोई मन चाहा केंद्र चुने, स्वयं बने, हम
Hello learners, we are discussing about the limiting of the function, or we can say how we have to evaluate the limiting value of the function. Basically we can say safely that three different techniques we have discussed. One is substitution method, another is rationalization method, another is factorization method. These are the very prominent method we have discussed. Then after we have discussed about what are the basic, we can say, or we can say basic theorems on theorems on limit. First theorem we have just discussed, that is known as when a constant quantity is multiplied, that means limit x tends to a k into f of x, which equal to k limit x tends to a f of x, then combine form, that means limit x tends to a f of x plus g of x, which is equal to limit x tends to a f of x plus limit x tends to a g of x. That means if the function is in the form of addition in a combined form, then we can split to each other. Similarly, in case of the subtraction, in case of the multiplication, in case of division, the combined form we can split to each other, but in case of division, there is the one we can say one part is very important, that is we can say the denominator must have not equal to 0. That is the basic things. Right now, we will have to discuss how exactly we have to evaluate by using the basic formula. Dear learners, one must remember when talking about that limits of important function, that part we also बहुत important, बहुत जरूरी है. For example, I just like to tell you that formula is also very important, and why it is important, because the standard, we can say standard function of the limit is there. I can say suppose limit x tends to a, x to power n into a to power n divided by x minus a, which equal to, I can write n into a to power n minus 1. For example, this is the formula. For example, suppose I can say, right, suppose limit x tends to suppose x tends to 2. Suppose x tends to 2, I can write suppose x tends to 2, x to power 5 minus, I can write 2 to the power 5 divided by I can write x minus 2, x minus 2, then that value will be, that value equal to 5 into a to value is 2, a to power 5 minus 1. Okay, this is the very important formula. That means limit x tends to a, x to power n minus a to power n divided x minus a, which equal to n into a to power n minus 1. That means suppose in place of x minus x tends to a, I have written x tends to 2. X tends to 2 equal to x minus 5 minus 2 to power 5, which equal to x minus 2, which equal to that is, you know, this is the exponential. So 5 into tends to 2, that means 5 into 2 to raised to the power 5 minus 1. So I can write 5 into 2 to raised to power 4. So I can write simply 5 into 2 raised to the power 4 means 2 into 2, 2 into 2 4, 4 into 2, you know, 8, 8 into 2 16, 16 into 5, I can say write 80, that value equal to 80. How we have to find? Easily we can find that by using that formula. Dear learners, now we will be move the another part, that is when talking about the trigonometric function. Trigonometric function, what is happening? Limit x tends to 0, sin x value होगा 0 होगा. This is the second standard formula based on the trigonometric function. Third part is limit x tends to 0, x tends to 0, cos x का वैल्यू जो है वो होगा 1 होगा. sin x का वैल्यू 0 है, but in case of cos x the value equal to 1. The third part I can write, that is also very important, but these are the trigonometric function. Trigonometric function, limit x tends to 0, limit x tends to 0, sin x by x equal to 1. Remember, all cases I have written limit x tends to 0. Limit x tends to 0, sin x का वैल्यू 0 होगा. Limit x tends to 0, cos x का वैल्यू 1 होगा. Limit x tends to 0, sin x by x. Remember, x is the angle. And sin, suppose sin x by x value 1 होगा. Another formula, this is known as, that is based on, I can say, the exponential function, that is I can say limit x tends to 0, 1 plus x raised to the power 1 plus 2x divided by 1 by 2x, 1 by 2x, which equal to e. So that is the, I can say, exponential function. Now another exponential function which is known as limit e to power x, you know, that is already now exponential function. Limit x tends to 0, e to raised to power x minus 1 divided by x, which equal to 1. Now we come to the logarithm function. There is only, we can say, only one standard formula based on a logarithm function, that is limit x tends to 0 log 1 plus x divided by x which equal to 1. Again I am repeating, limit x tends to 0 log logarithm function 1 plus x divided by x value equal to 1. Okay, dear learners, these are the basic formula. Now we have to move the exactly how we have to solve the problems based on by using that basic formula. Remember, when talking about, suppose this is the formula like limit x tends to 0 sin 3x by x. What will be its value? पहले तो था sin x by x value 1 होगा. So I can write limit x tends to 0 sin 3x by 3x. I can write, yes I can write. However 3 नीचे मल्टीप्लाई के मतलब ऊपर मल्टीप्लाई का मतलब डिनोमिनेटर न्यूमरेटर में मल्टीप्लाई करने का 3. So 3 कैंसिल हो जाएगा तो ओरिजिनल वैल्यू आ जाएगा. So I can write again write because this is the constant quantity. We have, as per the principal theorem of limits, we know that the constant quantity shall be separated. So I can write 3 multiply with limit x tends to 0 sin 3x by 3x. So dear learners, it will be 3, and you know that this value will become 1, because if limit x tends to 0 sin x by x 1, sin 5x by 5x भी 1 होगा, sin 3x by 3x भी 1 होगा, sin 7x by 7x भी 1 होगा. So I can write 3 multiply with 1, so that exact the result will be 3 multiply with 1, that means 3. So I can say that value equal to 3. Okay. Now by using the standard formula, standard theorem, we can able to find out this value. Now we have to move, that is related to exponential function. When talking about the exponential function, dear learners, remember, when talking about the exponential function, it is very important. The theorem based on exponential function we have to understand. So dear learners, the question is limit x tends to 1 e to power x minus e divided by x minus 1. So I can write x equal to, suppose x equal to 1 plus h, that time h tends to 0. So I can write limit h tends to 0 e to power x का value 1 plus h. So I can write e raised to the power 1 plus h minus e divided by, in place of x I can write 1 plus h minus 1, then plus 1 minus 1 will be cancelled. So I can write limit h tends to 0 e to power 1, I can write e, okay, into e raised to the power h. So I can write e raised to the power h minus e divided by h. I can write, yes I can write. So when we mobilized it result become limit h tends to 0. You remember, you see, limit h tends to 0. Suppose e I have written e as a common I have taken. So that value equal to e to power h minus 1 divided by h. Okay. So I can write e as a separate I have taken. So that become limit h tends to 0 e to power h minus 1 by h. Remember, now e, that value just right now we have discussed, limit h tends to 0 e to power h minus 1 by h, that value equal to 1. So I can write e into 1, that value equal to e. So dear learners, when talking about different example limit of a function by using the standard trigonometric function, exponential function, logarithm function formula, as well as the theorem of limit, we can find out any means any kind of limiting value of the function by using that formula. Dear learners, now we have to move the another very important concept that is involved, that is known as continuity of a function at a point. When talking about continuity of a function, remember, रिमेंबर कंटिन्यूटी मीन्स, अगर मैं लिटरल मीनिंग में हम चीज को समझने के लिए कोशिश करेंगे, कंटिन्यूस मीन्स कंटिन्यूस चल रहा है, मतलब कहां पे ब्रेक नहीं होगा। अगर मैं कोई एक फंक्शन का ग्राफ बनाऊंगा, जैसे साइन एक्स हो कि कॉस एक्स हो, टेन एक्स हो बा ई टू पावर एक्स हो, लगादिम फंक्शन हो, कोई एक फंक्शन का ग्राफ में प्लॉट करूं ऑन द ग्राफ पेपर, इफ द ग्राफ इज नॉट ब्रेक, ग्राफ जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल एक ग्राफ सपोज मैं बना रहा हूं, सपोज एक ग्राफ में बनाया, ऐसे का फंक्शन जा रहा है, दैट मीन्स कंटिन्यूसली मूव कर रहा है, दिस इज द कंटिन्यूस फंक्शन होगा। अगर एक फंक्शन ऐसे गया फिर मूव किया, मतलब ब्रेक हुआ और ऐसे जा रहा है, फिर जंप किया, फिर डाउन किया, फिर बढ़ रहा है, तो ये एक कंटिन्यूस फंक्शन नहीं होगा। कंटिन्यूस फंक्शन का मतलब, इफ यू ड्रॉ द ग्राफ ऑफ द फंक्शन, if the graph nature is not like breaking or jumping, then we can say the function is continuous. Continuous means that graph of the function is not break. अगर मैं एक लेमन लैंग्वेज में बोलूं, अगर हम लिमिटिंग और गणित भाषा में समझने के लिए कोशिश करेंगे, ये फंक्शन विल बी कंटिन्यूस if the condition is if the limiting value equal to functional value. दिस इज द वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कॉन्सेप्ट। ये कॉन्सेप्ट जो हम कैलकुलस में हर जगह हर मोमेंट में हमको फेस करना पड़ेगा। दैट मीन्स ए फंक्शन इज सेड टू बी कंटिन्यूअस इफ द लिमिटिंग वैल्यू ऑफ द फंक्शन इज इक्वल टू फंक्शनल वैल्यू ऑफ द फंक्शन। कोई भी एक फंक्शन का लिमिटिंग वैल्यू है, हम लोग पढ़ चुके हैं कैसे निकालना है। लिमिटिंग वैल्यू का वैल्यू रिजल्ट अगर फंक्शनल वैल्यू के रिजल्ट के साथ बराबर है, देन वी कैन से continuity of the function is exist. Okay, so right now that part will be discussed. Dear learner, उनका पहले एक बहुत important thing है, suppose when talking about limiting value कब निकाल पाएंगे? जब लेफ्ट हैंड लिमिटिंग का वैल्यू राइट हैंड लिमिट के वैल्यू के साथ बराबर होगा, तब तो हम निकाल पाएंगे लिमिटिंग वैल्यू। ओके, so dear learners, very important thing is now we have to move another concept, that is एग्जामिन द कंटिन्यूटी ऑफ द साइन फंक्शन। साइन फंक्शन जो है कंटिन्यूस है कि नहीं है, कैसे पता चलेगा? सो वी नो दैट डोमेन ऑफ ट्रिग्नोमेट्रिक फंक्शन, पर्टिकुलर साइन फंक्शन, ओके, एंड any value, suppose a be the arbitrary value on the trigonometric function. So we can say, suppose I would like to write limit x tends to a, suppose sin x हम ले रहे हो, so I can write limit x tends to a sin suppose a plus h and h tends to 0, so we will get limit h tends to 0 sin a cos b plus cos a sin b. That formula we know, that sin a plus cos b plus cos a into sin b. Okay, limit h tends to 0 sin x का वैल्यू ये आ जाएगा, then that is value, then you will find that value equal to 0. And you know that when talking about functional value f of 0, that value equal to 0. So we get that limiting value and the functional value are barabar. So we can say the sin function is continuous. ये वैल्यू कंटिन्यूस है। कंटिन्यूस को चेक करने के लिए सबसे बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट तरीका है लिमिटिंग वैल्यू एंड फंक्शनल वैल्यू का वैल्यू निकालना जरूरी होता है। सो सिंपली वी कैन से व्हेन टॉकिंग अबाउट द साइन फंक्शन हो कि कॉस फंक्शन हो कि टेन फंक्शन, कोई भी फंक्शन हो, कंटिन्यूटी का वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। अगर कंटिन्यूटी हम लोग चेक करें, कंटिन्यूटी ऑफ द फंक्शन, सपोज ऑफ द function f of x, that means limiting value equal to functional value, limiting value equal to functional value. Okay, then we can say the limiting value of the function is exist. Now we have to move, examine the continuity of the exponential function. ऐसे हम चेक कर सकते हैं, e टू पावर x को लेके हम चेक कर सकते हैं। नाउ व्हेन टॉकिंग अबाउट प्रॉपर्टीज कंटिन्यूस फंक्शन का कुछ प्रॉपर्टी बारे में हम चर्चा करेंगे। वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट प्रॉपर्टीज है ये है कि ऑल कांस्टेंट फंक्शन, रिमेंबर व्हेन टॉकिंग अबाउट कांस्टेंट फंक्शन, all constant functions are continuous. Remember, that is the very important thing. All constant functions are continuous. That means simply I can say, suppose I can say limit x tends to 0, x tends to 0, suppose 5, you know. This is the 5 is the constant. So every constant function, okay, every constant function are continuous. That is the first, we can say, first important result based on continuity. Properties of continuous जहाँ पर हम बात कर रहे हैं, first property is talking all constant functions are continuous. कितनी भी दुनिया पे constant function है, okay, all constant function are continuous in nature. हमको चेक करना जरूरी नहीं है, इनका properties है. Next part will be discussed, that is very important things. Suppose if a function is continuous, that means if the function is continuous, then the constant multiple of a function is also continuous. That means suppose 2x plus 3, if the function is suppose 2x plus 3, it is the we can say constant function. If a function is continuous, suppose हम प्रूव किए this function is suppose continuous, अगर एक constant quantity multiply करूं, 5 multiply करूं, then I can write 5 into 2x plus 3, it become also continuous. That means a constant quantity को multiply करने से कोई भी quantity के साथ that become a constant, we can say that this is also a continuous function. Third property is calling the addition subtraction of two continuous function is also a continuous function. दोनों function को addition करने के बाद, subtraction करने के बाद ये also become a continuous function. Fourth property is very important. Similarly, multiplication division of two continuous function is also a continuous function. And important thing is the modulus of a continuous function is also a, we can say also a constant continuous function. That means, dear learners, when talking about continuity of a function, one thing we have to remember, a function is said to be continuous, उनका limiting value functional value के साथ बराबर होना चाहिए. जहाँ पर बात है प्रॉपर्टीज तो हमको ये चीज ध्यान रखना पड़ेगा कि कोई भी कांस्टेंट फंक्शन है दैट इज कंटिन्यूअस इन नेचर. कोई भी एक कंटिन्यूअस फंक्शन के साथ एक कांस्टेंट क्वांटिटी मल्टीप्लाई करेंगे, इट बिकम ए कंटिन्यूअस. एडिशन, सब्सट्रैक्शन, मल्टीप्लिकेशन, डिवीजन करने के बाद टू कंटिन्यूअस फंक्शन बिकम ए कंटिन्यूअस फंक्शन. एंड मॉडुलस फंक्शन आर आल्सो कंटिन्यूअस इन नेचर. And how we have to examine the continuity of a function, that part will be discussed in our next class. Dear learners, I hope that you have enjoyed learning with me. Basically, we have discussed the preliminary part of the calculus, that is limit continuity. However, in our next session, we will be more discuss about, we can say, the differentiation, trigonometric part and the differential equation. That part in our next session we will discuss. Thank you, learners.
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने, राहों को आलोकित करने,
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने, राहों को आलोकित करने, हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने.
अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने.
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने, राहों को आलोकित करने.
संसाधन समय की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो,
संसाधन समय की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो।
कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो।
कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो।
मित्रों हम उठे और जागे,
मंजिल आने की ध्वनि सुने, अपना जीवन स्वयं बने हम, अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने।
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने।
राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विद्यालय का है द्वार खुला सबकी खातिर।
शिक्षा परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर।
शिक्षा परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर।